Hey guys, I'm Millie, and I really want to share my story with you to sort out this mess in my head. I'm sure that an honest conversation with you will help me in this. In all fairy tales from our childhood, good defeats evil, right? But in reality, everything is much more complicated. There are also minor characters, and not everything is always so smooth with them. Let's take Dobby from Harry Potter, for example. Do you remember the end of his sad story? Sometimes I feel like I'm this sad Dobby, who's pushed around by everyone. I always get very upset because of this and can never stand up for myself. Even the guys at school tease me accordingly. Cry baby. And sometimes even worse, Millie the Klutz. Perhaps I am that minor character. This would be the start of the story of Millie that I used to be, until one incident that turned my life upside down. But I'll start from the beginning. When I was a child, my grandmother Greta taught me that one should always selflessly share, compromise, and forgive people. But she forgot to tell me that other people will not necessarily do the same in response. I had a friend, Stacy. I always helped her with her English homework. Always let her wear my favorite trendy joggers, which my dad brought me from a work trip. Always had her back. Coming up with excuses to tell our math teacher when Stacy was late for class because she was spying on Michael, the good looker at seniors baseball practice. But imagine my surprise when Stacy was telling the other girls from our class that I myself fell for Michael and, according to her, was drooling over him. She didn't notice that I was standing next to her. Does our Millie the Klutz really think that such a cool guy like Michael could ever look at her? Said Stacy, and started making funny faces while all the girls were laughing out loud. That time I didn't say anything. I turned red as a beet, burst into tears, and flew out of the classroom that very second. First, because I really did like Michael, and secondly, I needed a couple of minutes to calm down and recover. After some time, Stacy asked me to help her with her English homework, as if nothing had happened, and I smiled and agreed, as if nothing had happened. Another egregious example. Stacy and two of our classmates, Linda and Ruth, caught up with me on the way to school and asked me to carry their heavy backpacks and textbooks. According to Stacy, Linda felt sick. She needed to see a doctor immediately, and Stacy and Ruth volunteered to help her. Of course, I also could not refuse to help and agreed to carry the backpacks. But I did not expect that this, as I thought, the right thing to do, would become a real sensation in the most depressing way. Now, that was a sight to see. Streams of sweat poured down my body, even my clothes were soaked, my skirt rode up, the hairstyle on which I had been working all morning, combing the curls to be smooth, was disheveled, and my hair stood on end. I guess the whole school came running to see how Millie the Klutz was dragging 4 huge backpacks. And the most interesting thing is that the story about the doctor turned out to be just a legend for this silly Millie. While I was working as a free delivery vehicle, the girls were drinking coffee at a bistro down the street and skipping their first 2 classes. When I found out that I had once again been so backstabbingly deceived, I hid in the back room under the stairs and cried bitterly in the company of buckets, brooms, and mops. And then I heard a light knock on the door, which swung open in a second, and a very familiar male figure appeared in the doorway. It was a shyly smiling Michael, who handed me a paper towel and a bottle of water with the words, "Keep the chin up, Curly. Come on, recover, and in 15 minutes, I'll be waiting for you in the school garden by the bench under the big elm tree." I didn't have the time to answer. The door was already closed. To say that I was stunned is to say nothing. First, because it was Michael. Do you hear me? The Michael, the baseball team captain, school star, and the crush of all the girls except the first graders. Although I wouldn't be surprised if he had fans among them too. Secondly, this same Michael invited me, Millie the Klutz, to meet by the bench under the elm tree, the place where couples usually hang out. Ha! My heart was pounding wildly, and it felt like it was about to burst out of my chest when I was walking to the garden after making myself look presentable. I could not believe that all this was true, and was pinching my wrist to come to my senses. But yes, it was true. Michael was actually sitting on the bench that day, and we talked for a long time about everything in the world, and I skipped a class for the first time in my life. Of course, I try not to do that anymore. but that was a special occasion. Michael told me that he had been watching me for a long time and that he really liked me. Delicate, tender, kind, unapproachable, the girl of his dreams. He thought that a goof like him could never be noticed by graceful Princess Millie. He also said that from now on, he would always protect me, if only anyone dared to offend me. The next day, we came to school together, holding hands. It wasn't a sensation, it was a real firework. The girls with their sour faces were whispering and piercing me with their eyes, and the guys were watching with great interest. And Stacy, my ex-friend, moved to a different desk and stopped talking to me. But I didn't care at all because Dobby was free. So how do you like my story? Doesn't it sound like the fairy tale about Cinderella, who met her prince Michael and became Princess Millie? At least that's how I feel now, and from now on, I only play the main roles in my life. Guys, if you enjoyed my story, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. I'll see how many likes this story gets, and I'll know if I should continue and tell you how sneaky Stacy tried to separate Michael and me. See you soon. Goodbye.